What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Daddy Jeep Garage. Well, it's spring here in the Daddy Jeep Garage, and that means the same thing it means every year. It's time to get ready for Bantam. If you don't know by now, I am a big part of Bantam. I am the off-road manager. Therefore, I have a ton of responsibilities to get ready for this event. So I've been running back and forth in the old WJ here to do some trail work, do some pre-runs so our trail guides can learn the trails and learn what's expected of them. And the WJ's been having a few issues. Some of them have been going on for years, but for one, I need to replace a wheel bearing. My last trip down to Butler, it was really noisy and made me nervous. So I'm replacing a wheel bearing, swapping out an ignition coil. I also recently, last weekend, I had some overheating issues, so I'm going to be swapping in a mechanical fan instead of the electric fan. I broke my winch at one of our pre-runs, so I have to fix the winch. So lots of things to get done to the WJ to get it ready for Bantam, as well as probably ought to work on the YJ because that's going to Bantam too. Another thing that hasn't been covered on the channel yet is I got another WJ. This one is actually going to be an Ultra 4 stock class car. I did put a teaser on Instagram on that, but part of that is a bunch of parts that are going to end up on this WJ. So the race Jeep is actually a V8 WJ, meaning it's got the aluminum Dana 44 rear axle. It already has 373 gears in it. It has a few other things that are going to find their way on this Jeep. And actually, the tires and wheels have already found their way on this Jeep. There's some cheap Chinese mud terrains, but at least they're a mud terrain instead of the all-terrains that I did have. So that's a big plus already. We went and did a little bit of Memorial Day wheeling, and of course, we had problems. Imagine that, wheeling with Daddy Jeep Garage and running into problems. Well, what happened with the WJ is my electric fan took a crap. And I know a lot of common problems with these WJs is the electric fan relay, which supposedly lives underneath this headlight. Well, guess what? I ripped this all apart. I ripped the bumper off. I could see underneath that plastic thing. There is no relay there. And the race Jeep, which is also a 2001, doesn't have a relay there. So I don't know where the heck they're finding it. And further, just to make sure I wasn't crazy, I tracked the wire from the fan, and it runs into a harness that runs back up underneath the power distribution center. So I can't find the relay. And that was kind of just a troubleshooting step anyway, because I'm just going to get rid of this electric fan. I have a fan I just pulled off of a 4.3 liter Chevy engine. Did some research, didn't find specifically where that fan would work, but I found very similar fans. I didn't cross-reference part numbers. Maybe that is the fan. Everybody wanted to quote these Dorman part numbers, and I didn't look anything up. I'm just going to wing it. I'm going to pull this shroud off, and I'm going to throw that GM 4.3 liter fan on the end of this water pump snout and see what happens. All right, so we pulled everything apart. I didn't show you, but I did test the fan. I ran some leads off the battery. The fan is definitely dead. It did nothing with power. I could see a bearing out of place on it. So this is what we have. This is off of a 4.3 liter Chevy engine. Pull this out of the way, and you can see down here on the water pump snout, I just threaded it on to make sure, but the snout is already threaded for a fan, so it makes this really easy. Of course, you can't get it in there with the fan shroud on, so we had to pull the shroud off, and we have to install the shroud and the fan together, and then just screw it onto that water pump. We're done. After a bunch of fighting and fidgeting, we finally got it started. So now I can go ahead and get in here with a big old crescent wrench. Get this as tight as I can. It will self-tighten when I start the engine, so I don't have to get it super tight. So to get these off, did I show that? I might have showed that in some video on working on that engine for my son's van. If I did, I'll throw that in here. But if not, I'll just explain it. Use an air hammer to rotate this nut. It's that quick shock is what makes it move, especially on that engine because there wasn't any belt drive or anything to hold it in place. This one I still have belts, so I'm sure I can get it reasonably tight with a wrench. But other than fighting to get this nut off, this whole project's probably only taken me about 20-25 minutes, so pretty easy upgrade. We'll see how it cools here in a little bit. So I found that this fan was pretty sensitive. It was rubbing on the shroud, most likely because that bottom bracket is broken, so the shroud isn't exactly where it should be. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clearance just about a Sharpie's width off each one of these blades, just to make sure that it's not hitting the shroud anymore. It's a little bit of work, but I got a bar wedged in here, just taking the sander on my air grinder and just grinding this off a little bit. So that's about all it takes just to get enough clearance that we're not touching the shroud anymore, and then we get reliable movement of the fan. But that's what it looks like in there. It moves a ton of air. I think this should take care of our cooling problems, but there's really only one way to find out, and that's to go wheel it. We are finally starting a brand new project that I've wanted to do for a really long time. This is my Ultra 4 stock class build. So it's got a long ways to go. I have zero budget to build a race car, but I'm super excited to actually have something to build. So we can spend some time ripping out all the interior, the glass. We're going to reuse a lot of these parts in the other WJ that we own. So this Jeep, this is a 2001 Grand Cherokee Limited. So it has the 4.7 liter. It's got the all-wheel drive transfer case, which I'm not sure yet. Maybe that's going to be fantastic. Maybe it's going to be garbage. Not sure exactly what we're doing there yet. But the beauty of this is the V8 versions came with 373 gears, which will be a good upgrade for my current WJ because it's got the 355s. And it has the aluminum Dana 44 in the rear, which I know that also gets a bad rap. It's not the best axle in the world, but for what I do with my WJ, it's going to be just fine. So it's going to be an upgrade. I'll probably even throw a locker in it at some point, but I think it's got a limited slip now, so we'll see. Time will tell. So that'll be the first steps, is gutting this thing, ripping out the parts I'm going to use in the other WJ, and then we can start building this thing up. So I still have the 4 9-inch and Dana 44 axles that used to be under the YJ. Those are going to live very nicely underneath this Jeep. So I'm going to have to do some pretty extensive work on that front axle. I don't know if the Ultra 4 stock class rules will even allow me to run a radius arm up front. I mean, the rules state has to be the same type of suspension. So if it's 4-link from the factory, it has to stay 4-link. Radius arm would be a downgrade from that, to be quite honest, but I'm not sure how that falls in the rules, and I really don't think I want to downgrade anyway. So I think I need to retube that. I also have an old Chevy Dana 44 laying around, so I can mix and match parts. I can take the tubes off the Chevy and splice them onto this Ford one and make that work. So that's probably the way I'm going to be going. It's a lot of work, but it's all stuff I have. I don't have to spend any money to do any of that. And that's kind of how my budget's going to be on this race car. So I hate to steal the name that Nate from Dirt Lifestyle came up with, but this is going to be Project Ultra Pour. All right, old ignition coil out. All right, next order of business. If you were paying attention at the beginning, you know what we're doing. It is time to change this relatively new wheel bearing. Oh, terrible. Can you hear that? Can you hear how much play is in that bearing? This bearing doesn't have 1,000 miles on it yet. So let that be a lesson to you. Don't buy cheap garbage off Amazon. Some of the stuff you can buy on Amazon obviously is of good quality, but don't buy the cheap stuff. All right, crash course in wheel bearing replacement. If you guys aren't aware, it's pretty stupid simple. So you got to pull your brake caliper bracket, got to pull your brake rotor. That gets you down to your hub and your wheel bearing. So I went ahead and pulled the cotter key out, pulled off the axle nut. The axle nut can be a little tricky if it's been on there a long time, especially if you don't have an impact. Impact makes short work of things. And this was a where is it? 36 millimeter socket for the axle nut. Once that's off, there's 3 bolts on the backside, 16 millimeter socket on those. Again, this is all going to come apart real easy because I just had it apart a couple months ago when I replaced this bearing. So obviously they're not finger tight. I already broke things loose. Number 2. And number 3. This thing's ready to come out. And look at that. It actually just pulls right out. So what I'm going to do here, I'll take you over to the bench and I will show you. But because this bearing's bad already, and my previous bearing wasn't really bad, I just screwed up my studs. I'm just going to knock these studs out, and I'm going to swap them into my other bearing, or my other hub assembly, while I fight to try to get my money back from Amazon for this piece of crap. So as promised, we're over here on the bench. This is my old wheel bearing that is nice and tight. I already knocked my studs out of this one. So we're going to take this new piece of garbage. We're just going to set this up here in the vise very carefully. Knock those studs out. I know what you're thinking, that didn't look very carefully, but it was fine. I made sure to hit them good and square so I didn't mushroom these ends, and it didn't take a whole lot of force to knock those out of there. So now we can just kind of reverse that operation, but I want to be sure, because these are little spline section here, I don't know if you can see that or not, I want to kind of feel that and make sure that I'm lined up with the splines that are already in there from the last ones, just so I'm not making my hole sloppy. All right, just like that, this wheel bearing has new studs. It's ready to go back in the Jeep. All right, back over at the Jeep. We're just going to reverse that operation. We're going to just get that onto the splines, line her up with my holes, and throw this all back together. Now, this is real critical. When you do this, I mean, every bolt has a torque spec, but these ones on the wheel bearing are actually important. If you over torque in a wheel bearing, that's a good way to kill it fast. So definitely want to pay attention to that and make sure that you look up the torque spec. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, but I am going to find it before I torque these in, because I want this wheel bearing to not die quickly like the last one did. And yes, I did torque that one properly. Also, in one of my recent Bantam trips, we went out on the Black Trail, and we probably shouldn't. It was pouring down the rain like it has all year. If you're in this Pennsylvania area, you know we've seen very few dry days. So we decided it was a great idea to go down the Black Trail. And that first descent was very steep and very slippery. And several Jeeps might have bounced off trees, myself included. So I did some pretty significant body damage over there on the other side when I slid sideways into a tree. And that's causing some tire clearance issues. So when I put these new tires on with 2-inch spacers, mind you, it was rubbing pretty heavily on the other side. I took it outside, put it on the RTI ramp. Didn't get any videos for you, but I could drop a picture here. And it stuffs the tires really well, but this whole dog leg got shoved in when I hit the tree, so that space where the tire stuffs is now part of my body. So I had to do some hammering over there. We clearanced that. We got the rubbing to a very minimal. The spacers are also causing some rubbing up front. It'll self-clearance. Now I might cut the bumper a little bit more. It's just rubbing the plastic on the bumper. But yeah, I thought I should cover the body damage too in case you haven't seen it. And it's a really nice benefit of this wild paint job is you can't hardly tell it's dented. And I caved this door in a good 3/4 of an inch over there, and you can't even tell. So I'd show you a video, but you can't tell anyway. So there's no point in it. All right, fine. I'll show you a video anyway. So the door, if you look at that white line, you could see how it's caved in. It's really hard to pick out, especially if you come over here. You have no idea that door's caved in. How about this quarter panel? This, we get in close, you can see that's all mangled. We open up this door, you can see that's all mangled. But once you close it up and step back, that's really hard to see anything. Again, this paint job, as much as it looks cool, it certainly hides the damage. So yeah, this isn't bad here. This was pushed in a good 2 inches before, and I've hammered it back out most of the way, and it's just barely touching the tire now, so I can deal with that. I let the Jeep run for about 40 minutes last night, letting the heat cycle. You could see when the thermostat opened, you could see when the thermostat closed, you could feel the heat coming off the engine, you could feel that air cool down. So the new mechanical fan is working as intended. It really shouldn't have a big impact. I know in my research, a lot of people said, well, it's going to kill your gas mileage. But that's not how these clutch fans work. They only blow when they need to blow. So they'll just kind of freewheel. And going down the road, I've already proven, because I didn't have a fan, it doesn't get hot at all going down the road. So that fan really shouldn't do anything going down the road. It'll come on and off as we're on the trail when it needs to cool things, but time will tell. We're going to run that fan. We're going to see how it goes. I'm glad to have done it here because I definitely want to do that on the race Jeep as well. I don't want the potential problems of an electric fan. So I feel much better with a mechanical fan. Also, I've proven the wheel bearing feels great. The tires are working better. The ignition coil, well, that didn't fix anything. This still hard starts sometimes. Specifically when it's hot, it'll hard start. I don't know exactly where to go from here other than probably just going to LS swap this thing and not have to worry about it at all. In other news, Jed just announced a 1,000-mile, 72-hour off-road adventure in West Virginia. So that is huge, and I am super excited to be a part of that. So I submitted my application. I hope I get picked. This will be the vehicle of choice for that adventure. So that means this is going to go through significant changes in the near future. So I have an LS motor that I was going to swap into the YJ. I think that's going to change plans. I think that 5.3-liter LM7 actually is going to go in the WJ. That means I have to find a transmission now. So I'm going to find me a 4L60E to back that 5.3. And this thing will, A, be way more fun to drive, B, sound a heck of a lot better, and 3, it's going to get way better fuel economy, which is important when you're driving 1,000 off-road miles. So big things in the works for the WJ, but for now, we're just getting ready for Bantam, doing some maintenance things, doing a few small upgrades, but lots to come on the WJ, so stay tuned.